Good evening, and welcome to Fox.
An American woman meets a handsome Englishman. They fall in love. They get married. And then, when they seem to have everything they ever wanted, her husband lets her in on his lifelong secret dream.
I didn't want to be a boy. I always wanted to be a girl. The term that everybody uses is have a sex change.
That's part of him. I have to love it, too.
I understand what he's going through, but with a little bit of difficulties in some places. I don't care what children say to me at school. I'm just going to say, well, it's none of your business anyway.
Lurid allegations sweeping the media about evangelist Jimmy Swaggart.
And I told him he looked familiar, but I wasn't sure. And he said, I'm Jimmy Swaggart.
I have never met or seen this woman.
I imagine he did see other girls, but I don't know who they were. I'd pick him up and we'd come back here. I'll say this, he has an unbelievable imagination.
Up until a couple of hours ago, I had a story that I thought was about as strange as any I had ever covered. Then there came a phone call out of the blue that stunned me and everyone who's worked on it. Suddenly a story that had one ending took a twist that only Hitchcock could have appreciated. It's an ending worth waiting for. But even though I didn't know how the story was going to turn out, I had picked the right title for it nonetheless. There's a folk song with a dangerous refrain that goes something like this: if you're treading on thin ice, you might as well dance. The first time I heard it sung was this past Christmas Eve in Manchester, England, and the moment I heard it, I knew I had the title for the tale I'm about to tell.
If the wheel is fixed, then let's take a chance. If we're treading on thin ice, then we might as well dance. Still I play the fool.
The man with the guitar is Bill Campbell. He's 38, married, and the father of 3 children. These are the older 2. Susie is 8 and Kenny is 7. This is a very special time in the Campbell family. This is Bill Campbell's last Christmas as a man.
As long as I can remember, I didn't want to be a boy. I always wanted to be a girl. Like if God would grant me a wish, tomorrow I'd wake up and I'd be a girl, and that would be it. You know.
By next Christmas, Bill Campbell, who has already started to call himself Billy, is determined to do everything necessary to become a woman. Bill Campbell lives in a middle-class suburb just a few miles from the center of town. Soon he will walk down this street and reintroduce himself to his neighbors as Billy.
Well, I mean, the term that everybody uses is have a sex change. Which isn't really a good term. I mean, sex isn't the word for it, gender's the word for it.
However you say it, everything will soon be different in this family.
Do you understand what he's going through?
I understand what he's going through, but with a little bit of difficulties in some places.
Like what?
Like, he has to do it. I find it a bit confusing. When he was born, he thinks he should be a girl, not a boy. I find that a bit confusing.
For most of his life, Bill Campbell found it confusing too, but he always had a secret vision of himself.
Dreams, daydreams, constantly thinking about how life would be if I wasn't the way I was, and wishing I wasn't going to the boys' school, but I was going to the girls' school, and things like that.
This is Bill Campbell's wife, Chrissy. She's been married to him for 9 years. She knows all about Bill's dream to become a woman, but she wants to stay married to him nonetheless.
That's part of him. I have to love it, too. I can appreciate the pain he's going through and the guilt he's going through and the need for the support. I can't imagine what it would be like if we all just cast him aside now. And how could you do that to somebody that you really love? What if your child came home or you took him to the doctor and you found out he had some sort of an illness? Would you just say, well, This sounds like too much work. See you later. You can't do that to somebody you love. You stay together and you work it out.
Chrissy is an American from Detroit, Michigan. She met Bill in Phoenix, Arizona. They fell in love, and on a mountaintop 6 weeks later, they were married. Now, when you got married to your wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
The woman you're married to now.
Yeah.
You were already aware of these feelings inside you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Did you communicate them to your wife at all?
No, I didn't. Being aware of the feelings and knowing they're there and actually being prepared to do something about it and take that incredible step are two different things.
Chrissy and Bill lived a good life in America. They had a nice house. They took frequent vacations. A few years ago, Bill moved the family back to Manchester, where he is from, and just 16 months ago, they had their third child. But all that time, even looking in the mirror was a problem for Bill.
I mean, I'd look in the mirror and not feel like I was looking at myself.
Did you?
I still do when I'm a man. I look in the mirror and I feel like I'm looking at somebody else. It's not me.
Did you do anything else? I mean, did you, like, secretly express those feelings? I mean, did you, for example, dress up?
Oh, yeah. Any chance I could get.
For a while, Bill Campbell led a double life.
My business day, I played the role that was necessary to do what I had to do. But always inside was this feeling that it wasn't right, that I was playing a game, not actually being me.
Then one night, Bill Campbell took his first step in letting Chrissy in on his secret dream.
I mean, one night, I put on one of Chrissy's nightgowns and got into bed with her. And I suppose from that point on, bit by bit, I let a little bit more of the real me show. And always scared to death that by doing that, I would destroy the most marvelous thing that I could have in life, which is a fabulous family. I think if I'd had to make the choice between my family and fulfilling myself, then I would have chosen the family, because they're more important to me than me. But I suppose I was lucky enough that I had such a good friend in Chrissy that I had a marvelous opportunity to do both, to keep the love that I'd wanted so much and to lay the beast that had always haunted me at the same time.
In the early days, I assumed that it was something that would go away. It was something that he needed to do for one form of expression or another, and if I just left it be, that eventually it would, you'd tire of it, the game would tire, and it would go away. Only it didn't.
For a long time, Chrissy and Bill lived behind closed curtains. At night, when the kids would go to bed, Bill would become Billy. He would dress up as a woman, and he and Chrissy would spend the evening together.
A lot of times I thought, why is this happening to me? What's going on here? How do I deal with this? And other times I just rolled with it. We would just sit and have our usual evening the way we would any other time. It's just the way he was dressed that was different.
Chrissy and Bill were careful to keep their secret well hidden from the children.
It got to the point where, as they were getting older, they were going to bed later and later, and I was feeling like I had no time to express that side of myself, and we didn't, you know, we were trying to hide things from the kids, and we felt this is wrong. We're going down the wrong path here. So we decided one night, hell with it, and I was downstairs dressed, and we'd sent the kids to bed a little earlier than they were prepared for, so that we could have some time. And they were upstairs making a bunch of noise, bouncing off the walls, you know, jumping on the beds, which they're not supposed to do because they wreck the beds. And I was fully dressed as a woman, and I just said, well, shall I go up and shut them up? You know, because she said, go on, it's about time. So I went upstairs, and they were actually out on the landing having a baby riot, and they took a look at me and fell on the floor laughing. That was their reaction. They just literally fell down on the floor and laughed.
Well, at some point, your husband came to you and said that he had made a decision, right?
We basically decided we were faced with a couple of options. We could split, which is what a lot of people think we should do. But if you ask the children, that's not what they think we should do. In the long run, I think the splitting would be more harmful to the children than staying together and teaching one another and learning from one another that we can cope with this.
How do you in your own heart, deal with the children about this? Because
they're the least of my problem, in the sense that I love them and they love me, and we know that.
now, when you first heard about it, were you afraid at all?
I was not afraid, I was just astonished and a bit scared.
Kenny at first says, well, you can dress up as a girl, Daddy, you can live as a girl, but don't really change, will you? And I said, well, I think I'm going to. And he said, well, I wish you wouldn't.
Change how? Change?
Actually have an operation and actually become physically as close to a woman as I can be.
I talked to my mum a bit about it.
And what kind of things did you talk to your mom about?
I said, Mummy, I'm a bit afraid. And she said, well, no, well, he has to do it.
One day Kenny came in and said, you two aren't going to get divorced, are you? Don't get divorced. Whatever you do, don't get divorced. And we said, no, Ken, we're not getting divorced. And he said, oh, okay. And now he was happy and he left. But, I mean, if something bothers him or bothers Susie, they come right out with it.
I don't care what children say to me at school. I'm just going to say, well, it's none of your business anyway. And I'll just go on.
The operation that will physically change Bill into a woman is scheduled for August. But there's much more to it than just the surgery. Right now, Bill is on massive doses of hormones, and he's already changing dramatically.
Hormones make emotions happen. You can feel very tearful or very elated, and there's no real reason for it. It just happens to you. And at first, there was a real emotional roller coaster. I mean, I'd be sitting there in tears, and Chrissy would say, what's wrong? And I said, nothing. I just feel like crying. I can't help it. I can't tell you why I feel this way. And the other thing is that slowly there are changes in your body. I mean, your sex drive diminishes. Your breasts start to grow. Your skin texture changes. The body hair growth slows down. So there are physical changes, and there are emotional things that happen also.
What kind of questions did you have?
About things like, how long would it take, and would they have to, like, would it be an open surgery or something?
What else is part of the therapy or the routines?
I've reached the point now where I'm going to go and have a few things done to my face so that I can start to live full-time as a woman.
Like
because
what? What are you going to do?
I'm going to have small implants put in my cheeks to give me some cheekbones, and I'm going to have these lines filled. And that's about it. And then I'm going to have to live full-time as a woman.
Chrissy spends a lot of time helping Bill look like a woman. She does his hair. She picks out his clothes. And slowly she's beginning to explain to her friends that Bill will soon look this way all the time.
They're very curious, I think, more than anything.
What kind of things do they ask you?
They ask me a lot of personal questions. Women, in fact, want to know every tiny little detail, and they want to know questions about the surgery, and will things work, and they want to know what happens to us. Will I want to go out and find a sugar daddy, or will I want to go find a boyfriend, or will he want to go and find a man, or
how do you answer
that sort of thing? I doubt it.
I have to ask you this question, and I think you know what the question is. So without my even asking it, you give me your answer.
My answer is that, first, that sex itself is not that important an issue in my life. And I don't think it's that important an issue in our married life. I don't think that it's that crucial to having a beautiful relationship and a beautiful friendship.
You don't anticipate any breakup of this marriage?
No, not at all.
Not at all. You anticipate to remain intact?
I don't like boys. I'm not attracted to men. I'm not particularly attracted to women, if it comes to that. I'm pretty asexual. And the important thing is our friendship. And marriages are based on friendship. They're not based on lust. They're not based on infatuation, because those things are temporary and they're sated and they go away.
I never considered myself to be gay. if I stay married to Billy, the world's going to think we are. Well, if that's what they want to say we are, there's nothing I can do about what they think.
When you hug him now?
I hug the same person. I hug someone that I love. And when the actual body looks different, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to react. I hope I still love him.
The last time I saw Billy Campbell, he told me he was on a journey. He said he knew where he was heading, but he wasn't sure what was going to happen along the way. To his family, to the wife he claimed he loved, and to the children he said he cherished. He even invited me along to document his progress towards womanhood. I thought back then that he was in a lot of trouble, and so was his family. I had no way of knowing just how much trouble they were really in. Then today a call came from a detective in Glendora, California. He had seen a promo for the story about the Campbells, and the faces clicked with faces he had been looking for years. According to Detective Tim Pfeiffer, Billy and Chrissy Campbell are wanted for grand theft in California, involving a scam to defraud people of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
There are warrants issued by the court. They're $100,000 warrants charging 8 counts of grand theft against suspect Bill Campbell and his wife, also Christine Campbell.
Detective Pfeiffer told me that there are complaints against the Campbells outside of his jurisdiction as well, involving people as far down the coast as San Diego. The alleged fraud involved the solar energy company organized by the Campbells.
We got a lot of people out, not just the 8 victims we filed charges on, but the numerous victims out there that are out. Hard-earned money because they thought they invested in something good, and they were scammed.
He asked me if I wanted to invest some money in his company. I said, certainly. Received paperwork from him. I gave it to my lawyer. He looked through it. He okayed it. We invested, my wife and I invested $20,000 into the business. About three and a half months later, everything seemed to vanish.
One of the victims claims to have lost $20,000 by buying 200 shares of stock in the solar company.
If we're treading on thin ice, then we might as well dance. Still I play the fool.
His name is Charles Van Riel, and when he viewed the promo of our story, there was no doubt in his mind as to who had skipped with his savings.
He's a happily married family man who's about to become a woman.
The term that everyone uses is have a sex change.
His wife supports him.
That's part of him. I have to love it too.
What about 8-year-old Susie?
I understand what she's going through, but with a little bit of difficulties in some places.
When he was born, he thought he should be a girl.
Oh, yes. That is Bill Campbell. Yes, Christine. Oh, I know him. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Well, first of all, I wanted to verify we're talking about the same people. So I immediately talked to the reporter in New York. I called them. They were cooperative. They stated that they gave me some background information that I had knowledge of. I gave them background information that they had knowledge of. We put the two together and realized it's the same person.
I feel very angry inside because I got taken to the cleaners. I'd love to be able to see him serve some time. There's no possible way anyone could ever get their money back. But I feel a little upset inside, a little anger, but there's not much I can do about it at this time.
And as for Bill Campbell's decision to become a woman,
I would like to help him. He'd save a lot of money because I cut his off for him.
You know, if he wants to change his sex, that's up to him, but I want to prosecute him for these crimes, and I don't care what sex he has.
There's a 5-hour difference between New York and Manchester, England. During the early morning hours of today, I made repeated calls to the Campbells. I reached an answering machine. I left urgent messages for them to call me back. Finally, at approximately 11 a.m. Manchester time today, I reached them at home. They admitted to having owned the solar energy company in question. They admitted to knowing Mr. Van Riel and that he had invested money in their company. They expressed surprise that the warrant was out for their arrest and insisted that they had not committed any criminal acts, that their business had simply gone broke and that they had left lawyers to handle their business affairs.
I don't know why we've been charged with anything, and if we have, we certainly didn't steal anything from anybody.
Let me ask you a question aside from all of this. Are you receiving hormone treatment? Are you, in fact, in the process of becoming or getting yourself to the point of having a transsexual operation?
Yeah. Why? Don't you believe me now?
No, I believe you. You see, I believed everything you told me.
Well, that's because we told you the truth.
If we're treading on thin ice, then we might as well dance.
If you're treading on thin ice, you might as well dance. Well, everything I know about thin ice, it's the last place anyone would want to dance.
And he will eventually topple. Swaggart will go out of business just as Jim and Tammy Baker have.
I have sinned against you, my Lord.
He's not sorry for what he did. He's sorry he got caught doing it.
There is not one shred of truth to these allegations.
A few days ago, that most controversial of evangelists, Jimmy Swaggart, held a nationally televised press conference to launch a powerful new crusade against pornographers.
I am appealing to the American people, and especially the Christians, to help us by letting the pornographers know that they have filled this land with their filth for too long.
The immediate focus of his attack was Penthouse magazine, which in its latest issue unleashes some lurid allegations linking Swaggart to a New Orleans strippogram lady named Kathy Campen.
I have never met or seen this woman. I want to say it again. I have never met or seen this woman.
Now, there have been similar allegations in the past, which Swaggart never denied. That's one of the most intriguing points in the story you're about to see. But in the case of Kathy Campen, vehement protest that he never even met the woman and threats to sue anyone who reports her accusations.
Please feel free from henceforth to publish whatever you like, but be prepared to prove it in court.
Ironically, this new development in the Swaggart saga comes just about a year after another famous TV broadcast, his tearful public confession to a sinful indiscretion. Then he never named names, never said with who or how many. And that omission has obviously opened up a Pandora's box of accusations from different women.
There is nothing there that is lovable. It's evil, it's wicked, it's filthy, it hates God.
He has the showbiz pizzazz of a Hollywood superstar.
I'm a sinner. I can't save myself. I deserve to go to hell.
He has the pop propaganda of a Madison Avenue honcho.
There's not a sin against Jimmy Swaggart. There's not one sin. When the devil walks up to the book of God and says, on thus and so day, it is written, he did it. I know he did it.
And coursing through his veins, the South rises again in one fervent voice.
Glory! I am clean. I am clean. I am clean. Hallelujah.
But it's when he cries for forgiveness. Ah, the Reverend Jimmy Swaggart. Well, he makes the whole world cry.
I have sinned against you, my Lord.
The Reverend Jimmy admitted an indiscretion of sin in a multimedia mea culpa last February.
Would wash and cleanse every stain until it is in the seas of God's forgetfulness.
And there was more crying, mainly cries of foul from an unhappy hooker by the name of Debbie Murphy.
He had a jogging suit, and he had a slit in the seam.
Debbie Murphy wandered motel hallways like this for 6 years while plying her trade. And she claims for the last year of her profession, the Reverend Swaggart wandered the same hallways along the infamous motel strip of Airline Highway in New Orleans, searching for sinful lusts of the flesh with her. In particular, this motel room. Could it possibly be?
He was one of my regular men. I imagine he did see other girls, but I don't know who they were.
Now, the room rates go like this. It's $10 for 1 hour, $11 for 2 hours, and $12 for 3 hours, which some people in need of an urgent rest think is quite a bargain. But those bargain rates cost the Reverend Jimmy Swaggart a whopping $150 million empire. Allegations that the Reverend Jimmy was photographed with Debbie on infamous Airline Highway led to the powerful elders of the Assembly Church of God stripping Swaggart of his ministry. Travel-in motel manageress Dana Reynolds offers some kind of explanation.
He was a regular customer.
I have been told, and I do believe, that on a particular day, Deborah Murphy, Reverend Swaggart, and another minister had a confrontation in a parking lot at a motel.
Enter another lady of the eve, Peggy Carriere, who hides in the shadows.
I went to his car and I asked him what he wanted, and he asked me where I was going. I told him nowhere in particular. Does he need a ride? I said, sure. So he's going to give me a ride, and then he told me what he wanted.
But alas, there are more outrageous claims.
I understand that you are a naughty, naughty boy, and you need a proper dusting off, oui?
Her name is Kathy Campen. She is a New Orleans housewife. She doubles doing singing telegrams and bit parts in movies. Kathy says she met Reverend Swaggart on Airline Highway. She was making a telephone call at a gas station. Swaggart allegedly approached her.
And I told him he looked familiar, but I wasn't sure. And he said, I'm Jimmy Swaggart.
It was the summer of 1987. Kathy says she was having marital problems with hubby Ralph. She claimed that Swaggart offered to counsel her on these problems. Now, all these ladies saying these things, well, let's face it. He was the one that opened up that Pandora's box. What was he confessing on that dark day? Just who was he with and how many?
And I beg your forgiveness. I know that so many would ask, why? Why? I have asked myself that 10,000 times.
Now, was he admitting an indiscretion with Debbie Murphy? Only 2 months ago, the Reverend Jimmy Swaggart told me he had never heard of Debbie. Well, was he admitting to an indiscretion with Peggy Carriere, the Lady of the Shadows?
He asked me, he said, he'd give me $10. And that's when I just laughed and I told him, you don't remember me.
Or was he seeing someone else, yet unnamed?
I assumed he was because I'd seen him quite a few times out there when he did not come to see me.
I'll say this. He has an unbelievable imagination.
Swaggart, as we have already heard, calls Kathy Campen's story a lie. In fact, he denies he ever knew her and says he never laid eyes on her. The Reverend Jimmy Swaggart's problem started with this man, another minister, the Reverend Marvin Gorman. Swaggart got him bounced from his ministry in 1986 after exposing him as an adulterer. And God knows, Swaggart is a critic of his own kind.
As far as I'm concerned, the ministry, the work of God, has never sunk lower than it is today.
Then Swaggart took off after the Reverend Jimmy Baker over his affair with a motormouth secretary called Jessica Hahn.
Baker needs to confess his sin, and he has really not confessed it. Secondly, he must repent. And the reason I know he has not repented is because he's blaming everybody else for his problem.
But the Reverend Marvin Gorman must have been studying the Bible very hard at that time, particularly the part which says, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." Gorman recruited this man, Scott Bailey, a Louisiana private eye, and Bailey compiled a whopping file on the Reverend Jimmy, including pictures of Swaggart with Debbie Murphy.
He's kind of perverted, or, talking about some of the things that we've talked about, in the rooms, I wouldn't want him around my children.
The Reverend Gorman has hired 2 top lawyers, Hunter Lundy and Tom Frazier, in a $90 million lawsuit against Swaggart, charging that he cost Gorman his ministry. Frazier was asked whether the lawsuit would charge Swaggart with having other trysts.
You're getting into a gag order situation. I could write a book if it wasn't for a gag order, but I'm not ready to publish it yet.
Frazier and Lundy have been taking depositions from witnesses at the office of Swaggart's lawyers. Gorman's lawyers have taken a sworn videotaped statement from Kathy Campen.
I'd pick him up and we'd come back here.
Kathy claimed that her trysts would always follow the same pattern. He would call her. She would pick him up at James Business Park. Then she would return to her suburban home with him. While she claimed mischievous hijinks took place here, she said they never made love.
he would want to have me pose for him, do my little thing, and some really precarious positions, really dumb.
Kathy, in her fervor to be believed, demanded to take a lie detector test. Like Debbie Murphy before her, she failed the test. It should be said that some consider lie detector tests controversial. But Kathy's husband, Ralph, remembers seeing Swaggart at his house after one of the alleged trysts.
I saw him here one time. I came home, and last winter, I changed my shirt because it had gotten all wet. And he was here, and I asked Kathy why was he here, and she told me, and I told him I did not want him in my house.
Ralph, a medical supply salesman, says that Swaggart was wearing a jogging suit.
She had told me that he was counseling her because we were going through a bad time. And that was all I understood she was doing. He was someone to talk to.
It must have hurt.
Yes, it does still hurt. Because if he could take advantage of my wife, he can take advantage of anybody. And I think the public has a right to know.
Ralph says he and Kathy are now back on track. Art Harris, an investigative reporter who writes for the Washington Post, has probed the Kathy Campen story for Penthouse magazine.
Well, for my investigation of Kathy's claims, I find her to be very believable.
But to many of his followers, the charismatic Swaggart remains unsullied.
We got to forgive and forget.
I love the Lord, and I think Jimmy Swaggart does too.
I went and seen him at a camp meeting in Indianapolis a few months ago, and it was really great.
And that's why I'm here tonight, to tell him to keep on.
In my own mind and spirit, I would think of it as a fresh start.
The Reverend James Brown, an elder in the Assemblies of God Church, sees Swaggart on the comeback trail.
And indeed, even in the cases of men who may have fallen into sin, we have to remember that potentially any man of God can fall.
Jimmy Swaggart is indicative of the fact that there is a sucker born not only every minute, but perhaps every 30 seconds.
Dr. Arthur Hertzberg, professor of religion at Dartmouth University.
Jimmy Swaggart bothers me very much because Jimmy Swaggart has the talent with which to be a true rabble-rouser in America. If Jimmy Swaggart turned to populist, anti-establishment politics, and he comes out of that clay and soil, he comes out of the southern poor, he comes out of the environment in which very angry protests are born.
Penthouse publisher Bob Guccione is an obvious enemy. Swaggart helped in a campaign to ban Penthouse in several thousand outlets. It cost Guccione $12 million in 1 year. Guccione has retaliated with a campaign of his own.
We all feel a lot better that Swaggart has been brought to justice, at least to the extent that he's been brought to justice. And more will follow, and he will eventually topple. Swaggart will go out of business just as Jim and Tammy Baker have.
Kathy. Peggy. Debbie.
It may take him a little while to get to do it, but I believe he'll do it again.
If people knew him the way I know him, he wouldn't be making a comeback. He's not sorry for what he did. He's sorry he got caught doing it. Just like the little boy with his hand in the cookie jar.
I have sinned against you. I beg you. Forgive me.
In a moment, Jimmy Swaggart's answer to very detailed and sordid accusations which Kathy Campen made in her Penthouse magazine story.
This evangelist and this ministry is as clean as the blood of Jesus Christ can make it.
Now, Jimmy Swaggart last year admits he sinned, but doesn't say with whom.
As we mentioned in the last segment, that opens him up to all sorts of accusations. But it also raises the question, if he did get involved in a sex scandal, what difference whether the name is Kathy or Debbie or, for that matter, Delilah? Well, his holding a national press conference does suggest he thinks there is a difference in a name. For weeks, as we've investigated this story, we've urged Swaggart to state his side in an interview with us. Swaggart refuses to appear, but to be fair to him, we decided to run most of what he said at that press conference on the steps of the Jimmy Swaggart Ministries in Baton Rouge last Monday.
I want to, first of all, read a prepared statement. Penthouse magazine, purveyors of pornography and smut, have released this week a diabolical and slanderous fiction concerning me, claiming I was involved with a woman named Campton. There is not one shred of truth to these allegations. I have never met or seen this woman. I want to say it again. I have never met or seen this woman. Ministry lawyers have been instructed to file suit as soon as possible against all who publish this fabrication. Our attorneys learned of this fraudulent story in December and had clearly shown Penthouse and its porno writer, Art Harris, that the story was untrue. We now know that they already knew and did not care that it was a lie. Penthouse obviously purposed to do what the owners of that magazine had previously threatened to do, and that is to destroy Jimmy Swaggart and this ministry. They must not, and with the help and grace of God, they will not succeed. I am appealing to the American people, and especially the Christians, to help us by letting the pornographers know that they have filled this land with their filth for too long. There seems to be no end to their diabolical slander. Please, do not play into the hands of these people by purchasing their smut. Just leave the garbage on the magazine racks. Now I want to lay aside this script prepared by my attorneys, and I want to make another statement. The rag magazines for the last year have published and printed almost every lie that they could think of, the filthiest and the most vile. Please feel free from henceforth to publish whatever you like, but be prepared to prove it in court. I am going to make a statement that perhaps some will tell me I shouldn't make, but this evangelist and this ministry is as clean as the blood of Jesus Christ can make it. I have never in my life opened a Penthouse magazine, a Playboy magazine, or a Hustler magazine. But I am going to do everything within my power, gentlemen, to rid the newsstands of your filth. But it's the pornographers that steal and kill and destroy. I hate your sin. But as my Heavenly Father does, I love the sinner. And I say this to those that have tried to destroy me and my family and this ministry and the work of God. I forgive you. If I could help you in any way, I would help you. And I want to say this as well to the religious leaders and the ministers that have peddled this very story all over this land and around the world for months. I love you anyway, and I forgive you. God have mercy on you, for you do not even know what you do. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Now, that was the word according to the Reverend Swaggart. Mrs. Frances Swaggart also had a special message for the media.
And I want to ask the news media one favor. I know that some of you will be chopping these statements up and airing whatever you like. Air this part of it. Send your money to this ministry. Keep it out of the pornographers and the garbage peddlers' pocket. We need it to carry the gospel of Jesus Christ around the world. And when he is preached, this land will be a far better land.
Since Steve Dunleavy completed that report, there's been some interesting new developments in this story. Swaggart's lawyers tell us that on Thursday, the preacher undertook a lie detector test and he passed. There were 3 questions. Did you ever have meetings with Catherine Campen? His answer, no. Did she ever perform any sex acts in your presence? Again, the answer is no. Did you meet in her residence any time between June 1987 and January 1988? Swaggart answers no, and all 3 results are judged by the examiner to be truthful. The lawyers further note that the 3 women shown tonight all failed the lie detector tests that were given to them. Swaggart's attorneys previously pointed to Kathy Campen's record of minor convictions for forgery and for theft. And the attorneys tell us that Kathy's boss in New Orleans is now prepared to come forward and testify that Kathy did come to her last April and tell her that she was going to make up a story about Jimmy Swaggart. It's clear that the battle lines are just beginning to be drawn between supporters for Jimmy Swaggart and Penthouse Magazine. Meantime, for the record, this program did pay Kathy Campen for her exclusive appearance.
Next on The Reporters, David Crosby of Crosby, Stills and Nash. Long time gone and on the comeback.
I'm having a great deal of fun. A great deal of fun.
On Reporter's byline, 60s folk rock star David Crosby of Crosby, Stills and Nash. After years of climbing to the top, David was brought down hard by heroin and cocaine. Tonight, David tells his own story.
I am older now. I have more than what I wanted, but I wish that I had started long before I did. For the last 3, 4, I'm being kind to myself, at least 3 or 4 years that I was addicted. I didn't write anything. I didn't create anything. So much for the drugs enhanced creativity theory. It took me about 6 months to wake up under very difficult circumstances that I'm sure most of you are aware of. Look around me, I can see my life before me. Since then, I've done, I guess 2 albums and a book, and I'm starting another record. I think the thing I'm most amazed by is how much fun I'm having. You know, I thought when I was addicted that life without drugs was inconceivable, let alone that it would be tolerable. And I'm having more fun now by about 1,000-fold. But there's so much time to make up everywhere you turn. Time we have wasted on the way. I can't believe how good it is to be able to be a functioning person and be creative again. And to be able to be a father to my kid and a partner to my friends and, you know, a husband to my wife and function as a human being. It's really excellent. I recommend it highly. I can only tell you that I'm having a great deal of fun. A great deal of fun.
Let the water come and carry us away.
Next week, a story as heartwarming as it is horrifying. It's about a father who scarred his son for life and who may now go free.
People out there right now think you are the biggest son of a bitch on two legs.
Just one of the stories next week on The Reporters. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Pete Schumacher here with my son Grant from It's Gary Shandling's show.
Hi, everybody.
I'm Gary's best friend, and Grant here is my son.
You just said that, Dad.
Right, I guess I'm a little nervous. This is the first time I've hosted a Fox weekend.
Just follow my lead. Tomorrow night on 21 Jump Street, Johnny Depp is trapped in prison with no way out.
Now stay tuned for Beyond Tomorrow, next.